So today we have the lovely Kaitlyn Siracusa. She is the owner of KCS Brokers, and she's also in Weicker real estate professional. And we're so happy to have you on this call. Take it away, Kaitlyn.
Thank you, Eneri, and it's my pleasure. And thank you for inviting me. This is like quite an honor. I'm so happy to see so many beautiful faces here. I know 75% of you. I did the math. 6 out of 8, I do know. But and I'm happy to meet 2 new faces. So I hope we can encourage each other. And I actually hope you guys have a lot of questions for me once I tell you a little bit about my background and, how I got into real estate. And, and I always pray on everything, and God gave me 2 things today to talk about. So that's where this is going to go. So we'll see. But anyway, so just a little background. I have been I've been in real estate for a little over 20 years. I got into the industry. I got into it when I was in my 20s. Back then, that was really young to be in real estate. Today, no, not at all. So today, a lot of young people are getting into it. But back then, at one point, it was actually a male-dominated industry. And today, it's completely the opposite. And I find that very interesting. As women, we are very organized and we are good managing a lot of different things at once. So, wow, what a perfect career for a female. And there's flexibility, which is great. But when I got into real estate, again, I was young. I mean, I think that that's very young in the 20s, but I had to leave my old position, which was actually a sales position. So I did have a sales background and I had to leave that position. And so it was just a good idea. I was like, okay, let me get into sales. And, at that time, I didn't actually have a relationship with God at that time. I was not raised in church, but so at that time, it was all like me, right? It was like, okay, everything was in my power, right? So I actually got successful quick in real estate. And at the time, what I think is interesting was I was not married. I was not married and I had no kids. And so one thing that I wanted to share today was that I have been through this career in all different stages of my life and all different life cycles. So again, this was something that I think God wanted me to focus on a little bit today. So again, I enter this industry when I am not married, no kids, I'm single, right? So I was full speed ahead, dove right in. I came from a career where I was actually making very good money, believe it or not, and at a young age. And so that's all I knew. So I worked from a very young age too. I grew up in a broken home, single mom who struggled. And just from a young age, I just didn't want that. I wanted a different life. So it was like head first, risk taker, nothing holding me back. And I want to encourage anyone. I know there's some young folks on here. I want to encourage the young ones who maybe aren't married. You take risks, right? That's a good thing. So not that us married people with kids can't take risks, but it's different. It changes a little bit. So there's a lot of other people to consider in the equation. But anyway, so I was full speed ahead, head first. And you have to, when you're starting a business or a career, you have to invest the time. And I did. And again, when friends were going to the beach in the summer, living their life, I'm putting open house signs in the ground. You know what I mean? It was just the way it was, right? I put in my dues but I loved it. I really loved it. And then I got married and then that marriage actually failed. So some of you do know a little bit about me. You probably don't know everything I'm going to tell you today, so I will be very transparent. And again, it's just because I think that it could maybe help and encourage some of you in different, places in your life. So that marriage did not succeed. It was not a godly marriage. And then I ended up having a child out of wedlock. So yes, again, you may not know that, but my daughter, I had a child out of wedlock. And so I went through this career again, first single, then married, now like not married, now a mom. And then those of you who know me today, I am now married in a God-centered marriage. My life has changed significantly, but again, it was navigating my career. That's the one thing that didn't change was my career and integrity in that area of my life. Okay. So anyway, the beautiful thing about it is when you own your own business, you do have some flexibility, but then again, as entrepreneurs, we have this joke, which is, you leave the 40-hour work week to create your own schedule, and then you work 60 hours a week. So, we have that joke as entrepreneurs because yes, we have flexibility, but again, when we want to be, and if we have certain goals, then we end up putting a lot of time in, and it is what it is. So I have found in my career that it's not houses that I love. I don't love houses. Do I enjoy selling homes? Sure. Do I enjoy being in different houses? Sure. It's the people I love. And I have found that it is actually my purpose and it is my ministry in life, that I can encourage people who, again, like maybe they don't know God, but yet I pray that they see God through me, and I have people from all different walks of life that I do business with and who are my clients. And I love that. I love that part, but it's the relationships with the people that I love. And that's my passion. So again, it's not a matter of like, oh yeah, I'm in love with homes. No, I'm a salesperson. I sell houses. It's a necessity, which is a good thing. I love the fact that I am helping people achieve goals, fulfill dreams, that type of thing. But it's the people. That's my love. And that's my passion. It's the people that I work with, and I love helping them. And, every situation is different. There's some, really happy situations where, we're expecting a baby and we need to upgrade. And then there's situations where it may not be so happy, like we lost a loved one, or there's a divorce, and we have to make a major change. And although the situation isn't great, I love the fact that I can help them close, end a chapter and start that new chapter. And for me, it's about what can I do to just take some stress off of them. So again, it's a transaction. I'm working with transactions, but my job is to make a stressful situation less stressful. And that's really what I do. What I try to do. That's my goal. So any questions so far? Okay, we're going to continue. So one thing that I also felt the need to speak about today was balance. Okay, because again, we are females, we wear many hats. Some of you are moms, some of you are wives, some of you are entrepreneurs, some of you are juggling a lot. Actually, I think all of you are probably. And the question is, how do we balance it? So what I have learned is there is no such thing. So, because I was striving for most of my adult life for that balance, like striving for that, like, okay. And I was struggling with it. It was the type of thing where, all right, so work is a great work week, but like I haven't done one load of laundry all week, or my house is a mess, or, okay, I'm on top of it. I have no all my laundry is done. Everything's all organized, but I am really behind in this area. So I was constantly striving. And one big part of it, one big component was like my health, like my physical health and even mental health, like, okay, I'm killing it with work, but I haven't been to the gym. I haven't eaten a healthy meal. It's been granola bars and protein shakes. Like, I haven't even had a real meal. So it was like, okay, how am I going to get this balance? How am I going to get this balance? So what I have learned is there is no such thing. And okay, I know that sounds really like horrible news, but the point is don't strive for that because it's not realistic. But what we have to be looking for is a rhythm. And what that means is there's going to be certain weeks where our kids are going to demand more from us, or there's going to be a week where our career is going to demand more from us. So we're not going to have an equal balance. But what we have to do is keep moving forward. So when we think of a rhythm, it's thinking of like when we're walking, we're taking steps, and sometimes we're walking really fast, sometimes we're walking slow, but we're moving, and we're moving forward, and we're moving toward our goal. And so I think once I grasped that and accepted that I'm never going to have a perfect balance, that I'm never going to be able, and maybe you guys are different, and God bless you if you're able to do it. But for me, it never looks like this, like working out every single day, crushing it at work every single day. Everybody in my household is happy. All my laundry is done. There's food in my fridge. I made meals every single day of the week. It just doesn't look like that in my household and in my life. So if you guys have that, oh my gosh, like call me after this, please. But it doesn't exist in my life. So again, once I accepted that it doesn't have to be like that and it doesn't have to be perfect, it actually made everything a little bit better for me. So again, it's about a rhythm. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but maybe one week I'll do great with my working out. The next week, not so great, but I can't beat myself up over that. You know what I mean? I have to just keep it moving. Next week's a new week, and hopefully we'll, get some more of that self-care in. So that is that. And so then the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which sort of concludes with what I was just speaking of, is about lifestyle and about integrity. So, I know all of you are leaders here. You're all leading yourselves. You're all leading families, potentially. You're all leaders in your business. So you're all leaders in some capacity. And I just wanted to talk about the integrity between our lifestyle and our leadership, because the best way we can lead is by, of course, example, because we are being watched. And talking about health, we've got two things. We've got our emotional health, and we've got obviously our physical health. I'm going to actually just talk a little bit. I wrote some notes, so I just want to talk a little bit about all of these. So our aim is health in all manner of things. So our emotional health is actually a really big benefit to others, not just us. So I have 4 principles of maintaining a healthy emotional world. So the first one is we need people close to us to talk to. We need ones that are safe, that we know we can rely on their wisdom. We need friends in our lives that have our back. We know what we say to them. It's going to be confidential. Friends that are supportive of us, and friends that are honest, that will actually give us honest feedback. Not what we want to hear, but because they love us too much, they're going to be honest with us. The second principle is recreation. We need to physically do something, something for our soul, basically. So exercise and eating well. This isn't just helping us physically. This is good for our soul. We all know, the ones here that are believers, that there is a connection between spirit, soul, and body. And so recreation is a healthy physical distraction, not a distraction, because there's plenty of those, but it's something that we do, that we enjoy, that we love, that's a healthy physical distraction. So this is very important. Number 3, go to God. And look, this is what saved my life, because I started my talk, with you guys saying how I got into the business and I didn't know God. I didn't have a relationship with God. And although I'm in the same career, at one point I was on top of the world, I felt, right? And then, I mentioned about my failed marriage. My world came crumbling down. And, it's, and again, and I didn't have a relationship with God. I did everything back then in my own strength, and it didn't work. So God redeemed me. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. And then I got to build myself back up again. But I think, I could never do it any other way this time. So I think, and again, He wants our burdens, because we all have them. So that's another thing. We can't do this by ourselves. So it's important that we have somebody to put our burdens on. And that's what God is here for. And then the 4th principle is friendship and fellowship. Hanging out with other people that are like-minded. The worst thing we can do is isolate. That's from the enemy. So I think that friendship and that fellowship is crucial. And then, so the first thing, again, was emotional health, right? With the 4 principles. And then the other thing is the health of our heart. So, and again, as business, if we're business owners in here, I know many of you are, we have to protect our heart from too much stress. We have to protect our heart from offense, because it's very easily to be offended, whether it's in business or personally. That is something that comes naturally from others. So we have to protect our heart from that, and many other things, by the way. But I'm just going to leave it at those 2, because I think those 2 are the most relevant to what we're talking about today. And then the last thing, I'm almost done. The last thing I want to talk about really quick is capacity. And we are meant to grow in our capacity, and there's many different components to this. So as leadership, it has less to do with knowledge, but more to do with capacity. And, isn't it funny that the reward for being a good leadership is more responsibility. So that's what we are rewarded with, right? When we are good leaders. And then again, it's all about capacity. So when our responsibility does increase, the pressure can increase, but that will stretch us and that will grow. But we have to be mindful of a few different things. Number 1, physical capacity. Number 2, emotional capacity. Number 3, our mental capacity, knowledge, and then our spiritual capacity. So God will enlarge our capacity, and He wants to enlarge our capacity, and He wants to enlarge it in all 4 of those areas. So that is that. And then I'm just going to leave you with one statement, which I think was encouraging to me. And the statement is, our worth is never based on our success or lack thereof. So keep that in mind, ladies. And I hope you have some questions for me.
That was great. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. I think there was a lot of great nuggets there. So thank you for sharing your story. I want to go back a little bit to the beginning, and then obviously anybody can chime in and ask questions. But when you started off, you talked about how you had a career, you were already working in sales. So how was the shift from being a young person in sales and then taking this leap to do real estate?
Yeah. So again, I was always I was a big risk taker. not, I wouldn't call myself, I wasn't reckless necessarily, but dove in like 100%, into everything. So for me, it was, I just had nothing to lose at that point. I just was like, yeah, that'll be great. Let's do it. And I didn't overthink it.
Okay.
I just, a few people made that recommendation, like, you should go into real estate. And I said, yeah, you know what? I think I should. And it was just something that was very easy for me because I loved it. And I loved the fact that I knew I could make a career out of it. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a job really, which was where the old thing was, my old sales position. It was just a job. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a career out of this. Because when you're in real estate, you do have your own business. That's just the way that works. And so it wasn't that tough for me. And again, I just didn't overthink it. I didn't worry about, oh, but what if I'm not good at this? Or what if this doesn't work out well? There was none of that at the time in my brain. I didn't think that way. I only thought, all right, well, let's do this. Like, I was just very full speed ahead.
Awesome. All right. Does anyone have another? Because I could keep asking her questions, but we want to hear from you guys. Like, what resonated with you? It could be a comment or just a question for Kaitlyn. Go ahead, Lenny.
Well, two things. One is a comment. Thank you for bringing that perspective on not striving for balance, but focusing on rhythm. I'm like, was she in my head yesterday? Because that's exactly what I was talking about with someone. Sometimes you're busier than others, and trying to find that balance and focusing on the balance. How am I going to do this thing every day? Right. But like you said, every day looks different for those that are like super busy between church and work and personal. Every day does look different. So bringing that perspective, and I'm like, I feel a little better now. Now I don't have to focus on balance, right? Not putting, not kicking ourselves in the where for not completing, particular tasks any given day, but it's more so just kind of going almost with the flow of the way the day is going to go, right? And completing what you can. So that was huge. So thank you for that. I think my one question is, did you have any fears going into this career in the beginning, if any, and how did you overcome those fears? Yeah, that was my one question.
Thank you.
So thanks, Lynette. So again, like, I want to tell you that I did have fears, but I was young. So when you're younger, I don't know about you guys, when you're in your 20s, you're not thinking like that. You don't have that fear mindset. Yeah. I have it, as you get older, you get that more, I think. You learn fear. Fear is not learned, like I think of like a 2-year-old. If they're on like the top of the staircase and you're like, jump, they just jump and you catch them. They don't think, oh my gosh, what if you don't catch me? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, fear is learned. So like when I started this, I just wasn't, again, I'm so sorry. Like, I know I'm bursting your bubble. Okay. Want like a good answer here. I just didn't have that mindset back then because I was just a, 20-something year old, maybe I was a little reckless, I don't know. But no, I just didn't have anything to lose at that point. I wasn't paying a mortgage. I wasn't paying rent. You know what I mean? My only responsibility really was me at that time. So that was an advantage I had getting in young.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. Anybody else have a question? Go ahead, Virginia.
I'll go back to what Lenny and Kaitlyn spoke about, the balance. And recently I heard someone speak to this, and they said, and I think Kaitlyn did a good job of demonstrating this also, there are times when your home life is going to require more time. So you're going to be putting, extra percent of your time into your home life. And that's maybe based on what's going on. Do the kids have something going on? Is there someone sick? And that's okay. And then there'll be times when your work life is going to require more time. But as long as you've already addressed both of those, as long as you are strong and have the support systems within both of them, when one of them pulls you more than the other just takes care of itself. Mm-hmm. They know that this is temporary. They know that they can support you, and it's all good. So I do agree that there's not balance. I love the term that you used, rhythm. And you're right. So, our rhythm is some days we're this way and some days we're that way. But I love it. And back to what Lenny said, that youth thing, when we're young, we're not always intentional about the decisions we make.
Right.
And a lot of times we do it just by faith and, hey, that sounds like a great idea. And this has worked out fabulous for you. You've made that career. And like you said, it's gone through all your life cycles. And I think that's very encouraging to others. And the fact that you're bringing your story to others is going to be very inspiring. So thank you for sharing your story.
Agreed. Thanks, Virginia. Deborah?
Hi. Welcome from the UK. I think I might be the only person from the UK here. I just wanted to, just explore a bit further that topic of balance and so forth. So overall, the concept resonated with me in terms of trying to juggle everything. But I think what I've kept in mind throughout my career, not always successfully, and definitely now that I'm an entrepreneur, is more of priorities, and everyone's priorities. That's a personal thing that's within you, right? And I think it was the CEO of Coca-Cola said many, many moons ago, I heard it somewhere, is that we're all juggling many balls.
Mm-hmm.
Some are glass balls and some are kind of rubbery balls, right? Bounce. So if you drop one of those rubbery balls, it bounces. If you drop a glass ball, it shatters, right? And I have used that to think, sometimes I have to take a step back, especially when I'm stressing about things. Is this a glass ball or if it's a rubber ball, right? If I drop this, is it going to smash? And so for me, and this is me personally, non-negotiable, my friends who are my tribe, my family, my daughter, they're glass balls, non-negotiable. But and that's kind of helped me. So as I said, for me, it's about prioritization. But they're the ones I try not to drop, the ones that will shatter. And and it as I said, it having that reflection. It's so many times when you then think, why am I stressing about some of these balls that if I drop them, actually they will bounce, right? Well, possibly someone else can catch them. But it's all amazing that when you're in the weeds, sometimes everything seems like it's a glass ball, or the wrong thing seems like that, you get them the wrong way around. And sometimes it's having to just take that time out, or even having those trusted people in your life, as you mentioned, that will actually say, well, come on. let's think about this differently. See, I wanted to share that.
That's such a great way to picture it. And I think as you were talking about it, I was picturing in my head, all right, the rubber ones and the glass ones. I'm like, oh, wait, don't want to drop the glass ones. So I love that analogy. That was great. Brilliant. Great way to look at it as we're juggling many, many things. And I think I've said this on these calls before, how as women, we take a lot on. And I was speaking to one of you this week and saying, sometimes we just need to say no to certain things. We shouldn't be saying yes to everything just because we have the skills and talents for it. Sometimes it's not meant for us. No is a full sentence, even though people think it's not. And to soften it up, because you can say, well, let me think about that. Let me just double check to make sure that I have the bandwidth. Don't be so quick to say yes to things that is overloading your shoulders with more and more stuff. No can also be not yet. Thanks for that, Norma. I wholeheartedly agree. I think some of us are doers and we love to help people and fix things, and that's great. But having those priorities is so important, especially when we're carrying so much and we're juggling so many things. To me, that's crucial. I've said this before. I live by my calendar. If it's not there, I need to think about it. But yes, great stuff. Anyone else, feel free, raise your hand or come off mute and ask your question for Kaitlyn. Deborah, you have another? Yes.
Yeah. This is a question for Kaitlyn. I loved when you was describing your early career and that putting in your dues, because I recognize that, because I felt like, and my personal story is I set up a business with my partner in life as well as business partner about 3 years ago, and I felt, I put in my dues over that time. I'm now in the position where we're splitting and I'm going to go it alone. And so the question is, have you ever had those times when you think, oh, where do I get the energy to keep going or start again? Because, you felt I was going to put in my dues for 5-10 years. I didn't expect to be starting again. This isn't where I thought I'd be. So Kaitlyn, any advice, guidance?
Yeah. So the funny thing is the answer to that is yes, all the time. Like sometimes every day of the week. So yeah, it's so funny. This is so funny. Like I will get into my car because, I spend a lot of my time on the road. And so like, I'll get into my car and I have to give myself pep talks like all the time. And it's so funny. Like Uma, actually, she's not here, but she was here 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. She spoke about how she talks to herself all the time. And I'm like, oh, yes. And so for me, I'm talking out loud. I'm talking to God. So I realized I'm not really talking to myself. There is somebody listening and his name is God. Like, thank you, Lord. But so yeah, I have to give myself pep talks daily because like, again, like when we're dealing with people, like everything else, like any bad thing that's happening, like if any bad day or, whatever happened to us, that's got to just get completely pushed away because now I'm going to be talking to my client. They need my one-on-one undivided attention. Like they're the priority, nothing else that's going on in my life. So I learned it actually young, when I was in the beginning of this career, I learned how to compartmentalize. Like if something is bad happening in my family life, let's say, I've learned to completely get that out of my brain and like focus on whatever task or whatever person is with me and right in front of me at that time. So somehow I did learn to like kind of compartmentalize and live in that moment. Like my client is entrusting me with the biggest purchase they're ever going to make in their lifetime, typically, unless they're going to buy a private jet one day or a yacht. But I don't know, that's not my typical clientele, but they're entrusting me either with the sale of that biggest asset or the purchase of that biggest asset. And they need me, you know what I mean? So like, I've learned to just live in that moment and just remove myself. You know what I mean? Just remove myself completely from the equation, how I'm feeling, if I'm exhausted, if I didn't get enough sleep, or, my husband annoyed me that morning, or whatever the case is, because I have in my career, like I have a fiduciary responsibility, which means like their interest is ahead of my interest. So it's just being kind of in the moment, focused on them. And, and I find in life, that's kind of the way to always be, is stop making it about me. Like, it's not all about you, Kaitlyn. You know what I mean? So again, if I'm like feeling whatever negative emotion it could be, sad, tired, angry, whatever it is, I've learned to take that off of the throne, so to speak, because I can only be focused on one, and I learned how to just remove it. You know what I mean? Because again, it's not about me. It's not about me. So I don't know. I hope I answered your question, Deborah. I don't know if I did.
Well, just to chime in a little bit, or more like piggyback on what you said on the compartmentalize, it's something that can be done, but it takes a lot of practice. If that's not normally who you are, learning to compartmentalize and being present and being not having that, okay, I walked into a room, somebody just pissed me off. Now I have to let that go to deal with what's at hand, whether it be at work or wherever you are. It takes a lot of effort to be like, okay, I'm not going to let that affect me. I need to be present for this person. And that takes practice. And you can Google on a little bit more on how to do that. But for me, it definitely has taken a lot of practice to get to where I am, where people look at me like, why are you not faced by it? I'm like, because I'm here, I'm listening to you. It's okay. I don't need to, I'll deal with that later. Another thing when it comes to giving yourself pep talks, which I do all the time. For some of us, maybe saying scriptures, what are God's promises for you? And reminding yourself of those things. Like I have literally a sheet on the side of my bookshelf that reminds me of, okay, but what does God say about his promises for me? She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. That's Proverbs 31:25. So that's just one of the many that I have there, depending on the circumstance and how I'm feeling. And from a secular perspective, you may be called words of affirmation. Because let's face it, some people have spoken some negative things over our lives, whether it be when we were young, even our parents, family member, and some of these things stick with you. So when things are going hard, you start listening to that voice and you have to be like, no, that's not who I am, and speak words of life over yourself. I am an overcomer. I am smart. I am strong. I am whatever it is for you to remind yourself, wait, you've been there, done that. You've gotten to this point. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's been perfect. You've had some dips and valleys, but you're resilient because you're still here and you're still pressing forward. So remind yourself of those things. Those words of affirmation are crucial, especially, I would say, especially if you're in business, but it doesn't matter if you're just because you're a woman and you have a lot going on, and you have to silence those negative voices that try to tear you down, because that's not reality and it's not truth. So like I tell my husband every now and then, it's like, we need to let go of that stinking thinking that the world tries to put on us. Like, no, we're better than that. There's some skills that you can learn, some things you may not know, but that's okay. You can learn certain things. But you have to remind yourself that you are meant for more. And knowing your purpose helps a lot. If you don't know what your purpose is, call me. We'll figure it out. I'll help you figure that out. But yeah, those words of affirmation and our scriptures are key to remind ourselves when we have those pep talks, when things are not just going right, or when we're feeling defeated for whatever reason. It's like, no, wait a minute. You're allowed to have your pity party, but don't stay stuck in it. Don't stay stuck in it. You'd be like, okay, all right, let me put my big girl panties on and be like, I'm good now. This is not who I am. I'm going to do it better next time. More better things are going to come my way. Whatever it is for you, you need to start speaking those things over your life, because you don't want to be defeated, and you can. And you have people that want to help you succeed. So call on those people who, I have some great mentors who will pretty much backslap me up by the head. It's like, why are you talking negative? No, look. And then they reminded me of where I came from and the things that I had accomplished that I never thought I could. But with their help, I was able to overcome certain challenges in my life. So that's also another addition. Have mentors in your life that will speak life into you, that will remind you of what you are capable of when you are even doubting yourself. And so I hope that's helpful for you guys. We have about 10 minutes left. Any other questions, comments for any one of us, actually? So feel free. Kaitlyn definitely gave us a lot of great nuggets, especially on capacity, the importance of us ladies having some good friends in our lives, that and just sometimes you just need somebody that will just listen. I'm like, I don't know, some guys are like, you try to fix it. I'm like, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. Just because once you get it off your chest, sometimes you answer your own questions. Like you give yourself your own validity. But I do find sometimes some people, especially men, especially my husband, he's trying to fix it. I'm like, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. That's why I have my girls that I need them to just listen. So what do we have?
The other things is I'm looking at my notes that was a huge gold nugget for me too is capacity, understanding our capacity and what and how much we're able to take on, right? Because like Eneri said, and like a lot of us know each other, and we know, we want to do it all. We want to be able to help so many people, church, but it comes to the point where we have to be truthful with ourselves and understand where, our limitation is, right? Of how much we can do. So just understanding where our capacity lies, because with capacity, like you said, comes additional responsibilities. And that's something that's been very prevalent in the last few days for me too. And just kind of coming to that realization. And so again, I appreciate that as well. Just bringing that up, man, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I joined. I didn't miss this one because there were a lot of good points that you made.
Yeah. One thing that I will remind you guys is like, again, because we're all doing a lot of things, whether it's for our family, our friends, or whatever. I think oftentimes we take on stuff that is not meant for us. And we need to start writing down, okay, so what are my goals? What is it that I have on my plate? Is it something I want to do? Or is it something someone placed there because they don't want to do it? I think it's very important for us to, and then I think going back to, I think Deborah may have mentioned this, prioritizing. We need to prioritize the things in our lives. What are the things that the need to have, the must? So we need to start writing things down and start making lists. What are the things that are a must, a priority? There are certain things that we have committed to that we should have not committed to. And sometimes we need to have those hard discussions with people and say, hey, I know, whether it be a volunteer role, whatever it may be, I know I committed to doing this, but in retrospect, I don't have the capacity to do this. That's okay. But you need to have those healthy and hard conversations to make sure that we're in a good mental space. Because if you're giving of yourself to 20 places, what left do you have for yourself? How can you possibly do well in all those places? You're going to drop some of those balls, again, to what was shared before. And you can't always work in that way because you're going to not be mentally healthy. You're not going to be spiritually healthy. You're not going to be physically healthy and emotionally healthy. So if we don't take stock, if we don't really analyze and take some time to reassess where we are, we're going to constantly be working on and living on fumes, right? On leftovers. And that's not a great place to be because we're not going to be our best in anything. So I would strongly suggest that we take stock of where we are and where we want to be. And are we aligning ourselves with who we are supposed to be and the things that are meant for us? I've had to do that. I've had to really look at things and be like, okay, I have my business. I'm married. So you have your marriage life and what that looks like. I have a son. Am I taking time out for them? I'm in ministry. I'm leading a team. I'm trying to build up leaders. So it's like, do I have time for all those things? And okay, those are my priorities, but there's always other stuff that comes creeping in. Oh, well, can you do this? And do you have time for this? And, oh, we need to go here and go there. And I'm like, okay, now I just added 10 more things to my plate. And I'm like, when am I going to do all this stuff? And then you do it because you committed to it, but you're doing it begrudgingly because you really didn't want to do all this stuff. And some of the stuff was not meant for you. And so you need to have those heart-to-hearts with yourself and then have those heart-to-heart with others and be like, you know what? I think I don't have the capacity for this. Can we get someone else? Can I, or at least I may be able to do ABC, but E through Z, I won't be able to do that. So that you can have that somewhat of a balance in your life and not feel like you're always trying to play and catch up and not feel like, man, I didn't have enough sleep. And I couldn't tell you the last time I had a full night's rest, because that's affecting every area of your life. And you can't possibly be happy You can't, don't get me wrong. I said the joy of the Lord is my strength, but God has given us wisdom to make the right decisions to ensure that we're in the right place at the right time. So we can't be all over the place and think we're going to be giving it our best. There's no way. We are human. So don't try to do it all. But yes, prioritize those things that are important and those things that I know for myself, there's some learning that I wanted to do because I want to be great at what I'm doing. So then I have to plan that out. What does that look like? And yeah, does that mean that some Saturdays I won't be able to go to a girls get together? And yeah, I don't have to go to every one that's planned for the month. Maybe I'll go to one because we need our girls. We need to refuel ourselves with our friends or whatever, or our partners or our family. We need to make sure we have those times, but we can't have that fear of missing out. And every time there's an event or every time there's a lunch or every time there's a dinner, we have to attend. And I see some heads nodding because we all do it. And then you go to those things and first of all, spend more money than you thought you should have spent. And also it takes so much time of where you were supposed to be and meant to do. So I have one last one. I see Deborah's hands raised.
Yeah, that final comment resonated. And I had a situation over the weekend where there was a group chat going back a few months, someone's birthday, everyone's putting their hand up. We were going for dinner. As time went on, because different things happened, I really didn't want to go, but felt, well, I've committed to. And then I had this realization after speaking to my daughter, who keeps me honest, and also a good friend, where I realized I didn't have to. It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
And I did say politely declined. And I did actually spend the time visiting my uncle. We got out into nature, went on a bike ride, but we also were doing some work on my business plan. And I felt so great. I think for me, the hardest bit was making that decision to say, no, I can't come. Once I said it, I slept so easy after that. I slept brilliantly the whole weekend. So, yeah, I just wanted to share an actual example of when we feel sometimes compelled to do something. And sometimes it is just that fear of missing out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I can't believe we're at the top of the hour already. Thank you guys for coming, for sharing. Thank you, Kaitlyn, for sharing your story and giving us so much great nuggets, things that we're going to hopefully ponder on and take to our lives and start making those small tweaks lead to big results. So have a blessed day, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.